I am Patricia Dubroof from Assisting Hands Home Care, and I have created a program for your delight and enjoyment and education, and it's called Creativity Boosters. So as many of you know, creativity leads to better health. It's free medicine. So why not make use of it at least once a day? So I'm offering you a 15-minute creativity booster once a month on Zoom. You don't have to leave your office. If you're eating lunch, you can set it aside for a minute. If you're coming back from a meeting, it'll give you a chance to decompress and get re-energized for the rest of your day. So I'm glad you joined me. There'll be opportunity after we do the program to give me some feedback. I always enjoy hearing from everybody how they are doing. But do yourself a favor and take stock of where you're at right now. Are you feeling a little anxious? Are you thrilled? Are you excited? Have you had a busy morning? Are you anticipating a crazy afternoon or evening? Just give yourself a moment to notice. And then I'd like you to pick up any paper that you have. I'm just using some copy paper, and I happen to have a few markers on hand, different colors. And we're going to start off with something to engage our left and right brain more equally. And we're going to talk about that a little more as we go through the exercise. So first you want to make a little X in the middle of your paper. And if you can't see that, let me make it in a stronger color. Here we go. And from the X, I want you to draw out to the edges so that you're creating kind of two balloon shapes out to the edges so that you're right at the edge of your paper. And a lot of people would call this a lazy 8, or some people might know it as the infinity sign. And then what I'd like you to do is just take your index finger and start tracing that shape. And the reason that we're doing this is because when we cross over our body, and if you want to go wider than your paper, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to go off my paper and go all the way to the edge of my table. The further across you go, the better. And the reason for that is our brain has two functioning lobes, the left and the right side. The right side is more of our creative side, and the left side is more of our logistical side. So when you feel like that's flowing very evenly for you, and you don't feel like you're jutting around the circle or the 8, figure 8, then take a minute, take a break, and try it with your non-dominant hand. I'm going to assume that when I said trace it, you probably reached out with your dominant hand. So in many people's cases, it's the right hand. And the right hand connects to the left brain lobe. And vice versa, the left hand connects to the right. Now, I'm slightly dyslexic, so if I get that confused a couple of times, it's okay. I'll correct myself. So what you want to do is reach out now with your non-dominant hand and start that process again. So you can see this is a really easy way to connect with your creative side and also to get you calmed down, at ease. Say you come out of a meeting and things were a little tense. It gives you an opportunity to reset. So that's one little creativity booster tip. And we've only been at it for about 4 minutes. So this is why I feel like 15 minutes can give us enough time to do something a little bit more involved. Again, I want to use very simple materials that you'll have right handy at your desk. If you don't have colored markers, use a pen or a pencil. Matters not. It's more about the action of what we're doing. For this next piece, I'm just going to turn my figure 8 over and use the back. And you can reuse this multiple times, or if you like the beginning process of actually making the mark on the paper, I think that's really a great way to start. So lots of little pieces within this one little creativity booster. So don't forget your figure 8 for calming, for bringing you to be present. And I'm going to welcome in a guest. And also for really being something you can take with you. You can do this traveling. You can do this in a hotel room. You can do it when, if unfortunately you end up in a hospital and you're getting anxious about things. You can always take out a piece of paper or just imagine those lines on your table and start moving your finger around the figure 8. I can't tell you how effective this is for just bringing you back to center. And we all know when we're calm and we can make rational decisions, our creativity gets a boost and we can think outside the box. So when you're struggling with a problem at work or an emotional challenge, go back to the figure 8, see if calming down for a few minutes, and we did it for 4 minutes, feels different. Let me know. I'll be curious to find out. Our next thing, as I said, is we're just going to flip this figure 8 over, or if you have other paper you want to use. And this time what I'd like you to do is write your name. And I'm giving you simple directions because I want to see what you come up with. So when somebody says to me, write my name, I don't actually spell out every letter, I sign it. So as you can see, I sign P. Dubroof. It's very authentic to me. In fact, your signature is one of your most authentic creative pieces that you do. And because of the computer and always sending off, we have our signatures at the bottom of our emails. We don't even write our name anymore, let alone sign it. So how often do you actually get an opportunity to sign your name? We don't write that many checks. We have digital documents that we sign instead of paper documents. So really this act of signing your name is becoming more and more important to us in terms of creativity and in terms of identifying who we are, how we feel about ourselves. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to write your name several different ways on this piece of paper. So for this particular time, I signed it right in the middle, kind of catty corner. You can see that shape. I'm going to take a different color just so you can see the difference. And the next time I want to do something the opposite. So instead of signing my name, I might write my name really big. Now keep in mind, I haven't given you any rules about this. You can decide to make it legible, illegible, whatever you want, the colors, the size of the letters, whatever you want. This is stirring up that creative side. So once you've done it, signed maybe, and maybe big print, then I'd like you to switch hands. Now, some people find this very challenging. Some people, not so much. I was brought up in a right-handed world, so I was a forced righty. And I can't tell you how often it comes up for me where I reach out with my left hand and it's really, I've been trained otherwise, so my body goes, oh, wait, you should be doing that with your right hand. But I'd like you to write your name again using your non-dominant hand. And see how that feels. Does it shift the way you're sitting in your chair or standing? Is there something different about how that works? And take a minute. Great. And now what I'd like you to do is, how did that feel? Feel funny? Feel normal? Keep in mind that the more we can use our non-dominant hand, and in most people's cases, that's your left hand, that's stirring up that right brain creative side. And so you really want to try to do some nominal things with your non-dominant hand. For instance, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, something that I wouldn't light a match necessarily right away, but something that would be useful to you down the road. And I say that because I find in our world of home care that a lot of the calls I get are from people who've had a stroke or who are living with MS or Parkinson's. where your muscles are affected and your coordination. And sometimes you really need that non-dominant hand to start picking up the slack that the dominant hand now has lost. So keep that in mind. It's always good to keep activities balanced. And certainly the more you can do, maybe throw a ball up and down with your non-dominant hand. Any of those things are super, super helpful. So now we've written our name 3 times on this piece of paper. And what I'd like to do is ask you to write it another time with your eyes closed. So this gives up all the visual sensory perception and focuses just on your brain and its memory. So close your eyes if you dare and hold on to the edge of the paper so you know you're on the paper, and write your name. And how did that feel? Wow. It's a little daunting. It's a little fear in there, like, oh, I'm going to make a mistake. Well, in art making, there's really no mistake. If you're making authentic art for you, you're doing a great job. Everything's just the way it's supposed to be. And you don't have to make it so precious. Art can be precious in some cases and not precious in others. So you can always say, oh, I don't care for this. Off it goes into the trash bin or the recycle bin, or maybe I paint it over. But in this case, look at how your name was written with your eyes closed. In most cases, you're going to find that it's miraculously similar to with your eyes open. And that's because we do it so often, or we used to. We're losing that a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how the generations change with the signing of the name thing. But for us right now, this looks to me as if I had done it with my eyes open. So even though I was a little fearful about writing it, I realized that I can trust my instinct, my authentic signature, to be there for me. So we're going to try one more experiment. So we've done eyes open, different shapes. We've done eyes closed. We've done opposite hand. And now I'd like to give you an opportunity to just play a little bit with the colors that you have, or maybe just with a pencil or pen, maybe filling in shapes, maybe creating a design. If you notice, by writing your name over and over, you've created a pattern. And pattern is one of the most exciting things that we see with our wonderful eyes. Whenever we see a recurring pattern, it gives our eyes pleasure. So, or at least makes them curious. So what I'd like you to do is see if there's any kind of changes that you'd like to make to this design that you have. Think of it as like a piece of wallpaper or a textile image, and color in some areas, maybe make some stronger, maybe not. See what you want to do. Maybe you want to border. Maybe you want to play some more with your name. Maybe you want to write it differently a few more times and give some space to that. Maybe there's a shape within a shape. Apologize, my markers are a little dried out, so it's not coming up as dark as I had hoped. The more you play in there, the more time your brain has a chance to do that reset and get that creative side going. Now, some people like to have music on when they're drawing. That's great. We are actually going to have a guest next month who is a music therapist from Kensington Park community. And I hope you all will return for that adventure with me. And as we come to a close of our 15-minute respite creativity, I just want to thank you all for joining me. Because as Sherry Lewis says, you are the perfectly perfect person. And I'm so glad that you've decided to come and play for 15 minutes and give your mind a little break and refresh. Thank you again for joining me, Patricia Dubroof, Assisting Hands Home Care Creativity Booster